Hey, what's up you guys? This is Rob from McGayGuyPlays, and today on the hit list, we're targeting my top 5 favorite Warframes of 2015. Okay, well that is a little bit of a lie. You see, I promised last year that if any iteration of Loki were to make it up to my number 1 spot, I'd leave him out of this year's list. With the introduction of sorties, my recent love affair with Safeguard Switch during rescue missions, and the Knave skin, there was really no way he wasn't gonna top the charts. Hell, even Quite Shy did a video about him. She was all like, "Ooh, boy, you hella good. You like go invisible. You be like disarming and shit and making people immortal. Oh, no, you too good to use, boo. You is too good to use. But I'ma still use you though." Okay, so maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit, however, I feel like the impression was pretty on point, right? Now, before I jump in, I do want to note that builds will not be included in the video. The fact is, weapon builds are easy. You can just swap out some elemental combos depending on the faction, or even into certain physical mods if the sortie condition requires it. However, Warframe builds can vary wildly depending on the mission type or group setup you've got in front of you. So, what I'll do is toss up a builds playlist that I'll link in the end card, and hopefully remember to put builds into. Now, let's start scratching off targets. In at number 5, I am so happy to say Ember. And I know that this is going to be a shock for some people, but honestly, the changes that occurred with toggled abilities and duration mods affecting energy consumption made World on Fire much more feasible to maintain. Now, while at higher levels the damage does end up dropping off, the CC from Firequake still has a strong impact on the battlefield. In addition, the Ignis got its rework, we were introduced to the Cum Gun 2.0 with the Atomos, and our favorite Void Trader Barokatir brought us primed heated charge, all which benefit greatly from Ember's accelerant. Regardless of what way you look at it, this Ember has been stoked. Now, moving on to number 4, Nezha, our resident boy on fire, continues to heat things up. To be 100% honest with you, he would have actually been a bit higher on the list if I didn't purposefully knock his twinky little ass down a couple notches due to what I like to refer to as the new Warframe syndrome, and the fact that he slides around more than a wet dick and a loose asshole. Now, he's got a good solid kit that includes some CC, a little bit of defense, and some questionable healing. However, let's face it, this one is really here because he's got some serious sass. He is the embodiment of DE's willingness to embrace less than traditional character types. Not every man has to be a grunting brute, and not every woman has to be over-sexualized, and that alone reserves him a spot on the list. Saryn makes her appearance at number 3 this year because of the massive revamp to her kit. Now, do note that last year she didn't even make it as an honorable mention on the list. Not only is she topping the damage charts in extended duration missions, but as opposed to her previous press 4 to win incarnation, you're actually rewarded for using all of the abilities in her kit. You get a near endless amount of energy back if you're using Toxic Lash to pop spores, you spread both toxin and viral if you're using spores on a target you poisoned with either molt or lash, and Miasma grants you bonus damage for using any or all of the aforementioned. Basically, girl cleaned her ass up, got a new dress, and decided to stop fucking with amateurs. It was like a beautiful Warframe coming of age story. Now at number 2, Excalibur also experienced a bit of evolution. And I should know, because I had to annotate that damn Exalted Blade playtesting video like 20 times before the programming team finally figured out what works and what doesn't. Regardless, the end result was absolutely show-stopping and also gave them the basis for a couple of the biggest game mechanics that were implemented on several other frames this year. From toggled abilities to abilities that scale using weapon mods, our poster boy's influence was definitely felt. Even without any historical value, his kit is quite strong, featuring insane CC from a blind that opens enemies up to melee finishers, a scaling high mobility dash, and of course, the unsheathing of that Exalted Blade. Now if only he didn't have a pancake booty, he might have made it to number 1. Alrighty, before we get to the frame that resonated with me the most this year, let's take a look at a few of the contenders that just missed the list. At number 8 comes Ivara and her big old bag of utility. The fact is, all that utility makes for a heavy fucking bag, and if it didn't slow her ass down so much, she would have definitely taken a higher spot on the list. However, I will give credit where credit is due. Once she sets up shop, she is definitely a powerhouse, especially in defense and interceptions. At number 7 comes Nova. Now this is an interesting one and might give you a little bit of insight as to how the hit list works. The fact is, a lot of my friends use her, and she's a pretty popular frame that scales well into late game, so there's never a short supply, which means that there's really no reason for me to go around digging for mine. She is still an amazing frame, taking the number 4 spot last year. It's just that this year I didn't really get to play with her much. Now at number 6 comes Equinox. She is literally the entire package, with heals, CC, and team buffs. In addition, she is one of the few frames whose damage output actually scales in the late game, and she quickly became one of my favorite focus farmers. However, she did miss the top 5 because I felt like an asshole stealing all the kills with my overextended build. Now speaking of frames with scaling damage output, let's take a look at the frame that literally clawed her way to the top.
The challenger has arrived!
Now, the stars totally aligned for Valkyr to take the top spot this year. While she herself didn't receive a massive rework, every outside influence in the book contributed to the increases in her overall effectiveness. First off, Hysteria became toggleable, and its damage now scaled with weapon mods, which further benefited paralysis since finisher animations were now affected by attack speed, meaning that you could deal hundreds of thousands of points of damage to multiple stunned enemies in the blink of an eye. Ripline became a soft target, making it easier to snatch down Hellions and other flying irritations. Then of course we got the Eternal War augment, which pretty much speaks for itself. And last but not least, her Gersemi skin was launched and she basically flipped the bird to anyone who only ever saw her as a failed Corpus experiment. See, bitch was crazy before, the only difference now is she is pissed. And that is why Valkyr has taken the top spot on my hit list for favorite Warframe of 2015, excluding Loki. Now, of course, there is a scripting tradition here at A Gay Guy Plays, so we're gonna close out NoDeWiHoE the same way we did last year. So thank you all for watching another episode of the Hit List. If you disagree, you can go suck a dick, because this is my list. It's my list. But I more than encourage the rest of you to leave your favorite frames in the comments below. Now, if you missed it, be sure to check out last year's hit list, as well as the Warframe builds playlist that I've hopefully set up while this video is uploading. So don't forget to do all the things that I asked you to do at the end of every one of these, and as always, may the best of your todays be the worst of your tomorrows. Happy NoDeWiHoE, bitches! Sweet baby Jesus, do you see how close you were to being number 1? You let us down. Next year you gotta come back in a big way or you're never gonna get to the top.